So in this video, we're going to be talking about how to evaluate a function. So just in case you forgot what a function is, it's really a type of equation where every x value only has one y output, meaning you can't have a circle graph because a circle graph would have two y values for most x values, because when we make a circle, this x value would have a point here and down here. So the basic idea of a function is that all x's have one y value. But we're going to be looking at two different types of evaluating that you may be asked to do. So the first type of evaluating, remember every function is always set up as f of x or g of x or t of a or whatever equals and then some sort of equation. So in this case we'll say it's 4x minus 5. Now the first type of evaluating you may be asked to do would be something where it's set up like f of 3 equals. Notice where they've placed the 3 in relation to the normal setup of the equation. So the way they've placed it, they're telling us that the x value is 3. So what they're saying here is x is 3. Find your y value. So how I would do that is I would plug in the value I've been given, so f of 3. I'm going to plug in 3 where my x was. And then I go through and simplify. So f of 3 would be 7. So that's one type of evaluating, where I plug in a number for x and I find y. So the way it will always be set up for those is that the number they're giving you will be inside the parentheses. The other type of evaluating, which some people prefer to call solving, it doesn't really matter what you call it, you have to do it anyways. So that would be set up something like this. Notice where the number is this time. It is no longer inside the parentheses like the first set. This time it's set equal to f of x. This is their way of saying y is 11, find x. So they're plugging in a number in the space here this time instead. So how we would set that up is we would replace our f of x with our 11, and then we would follow our normal solving process. So those are two different types of evaluating that you may be asked to do. So we're going to do a couple practice problems of each type. So first we're going to start with solving where I've given you the x value, or I guess in this case the a value, and it's your job to find the output, the y value. So whenever they do that, you're plugging in your value into all places that you see that value. So right now, a is our x variable, I guess. So I need to plug in -4 anywhere I would see an a. And then I just follow my normal simplifying process to get to a final answer. So order of operations would tell me that I need to get rid of the exponent first, and then do any multiplying I need to do, or dividing. And then any adding or subtracting. Now these problems can get even more challenging as we go, but for now we're just going to be focusing on a slightly simpler version. So in this case, same thing. I gave you the x value, so you would plug it into any place where you see an x. Now, when we start to talk about evaluating on the other side, where I give you a y value, that makes things a little bit more complicated, only because you need to follow your solving process instead of your simplifying process. So, in this case, Wn equals 4n plus 2, and I've given you the value of Wn. So I'm going to replace Wn with the value that I gave you. And then I would follow normal solving to get to a final answer. So subtracting the 2 from both sides and dividing. Now, as you go on, these problems are going to get more and more challenging. So in this case, k of a is 90. So 90 equals 3a cubed plus a squared. And you may find that you're a little bit stuck, but this is a problem where you may be asked to use synthetic division. So I'm going to move the 90 to the other side. If you're unfamiliar with synthetic division, this is the same thing as long division. It's just a shorter way of doing it. So my answer of x minus 3, or a minus 3, works, and I end up with 3a squared plus 10a plus 30, which means that one solution is a is 3. There are 2 other imaginary solutions, but I'm going to leave it there for now. So that is the process of evaluating. Again, it is important to keep track of whether you're being asked to find the y value and being given the x value, or if you're being given the y value and asked to find x. So it's important to keep track of which one you're being asked to do.